It's screencast time at the Apple blog. Today we're going to talk about using Abracadabra plugin for Quicksilver, which allows us to use mouse gestures to activate triggers. So let's get right into it. Go into Quicksilver, and Command comma brings up our preferences. Go up here to the plugins. Make sure you're on all plugins, and then install the Abracadabra triggers plugin by clicking on the checkbox. Once that's installed, we're going to go up here to Preferences and then select Abracadabra. And we've got some settings that we'll need to go through. The modifier is the key that you'll select to activate the monitoring of the mouse path so that it knows which gestures that you're executing. That way it's not trying to execute stuff all the time. I've chosen caps lock. You can set a mouse button also. I've actually done that using USB overdrive. Drawing, you can set the colors so that as you're drawing a trigger, it will show in blue. If it's a good trigger, if you draw it properly, it'll show up as green. And if you don't draw it properly, it'll show up as red. So let me show you that real quick. So there we go. And it recognized the trigger, and it launched iTunes for me. So that's cool. So then here's the pixie dust, turns red if it didn't recognize it. You can also set sounds to the recognized or unrecognized. I don't particularly like that, so obviously mine aren't checked. Now let's go on over here to the triggers. All my gestures within my triggers are based on iTunes, so I'll just recreate my Open iTunes trigger just so you can see it from the start. So go down here to the plus sign, choose to create a gesture-based trigger, and I'll just choose to open iTunes and go ahead and save that. And so now we've created it, but the gesture has not been assigned. So click on the eye down here, and if we click on that trigger, now we're in the drawing pane to define what our gesture will look like. So to do that, we click on the little button here and create that trigger. Now this is where it gets a little squirrely because it is pretty specific about the path that you create. So that's why I've only got 3 or 4 gestures programmed in, because A, my brain's not big enough to remember more than a handful, and B, you can only create so many lines, straight lines and whatnot, that are going to be easy to execute. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to do one that I know I can execute, which is just going to be a diagonal line. So now that we've created it, we can get out of the preferences, and I'm going to open iTunes using my trigger. And it's that easy. So obviously a lot of things that you can do with it, have some fun. Like I said, go crazy if you think you can remember several. Obviously you can do diagonal lines in 4 different directions. Yeah, 4 different directions. You can do straight lines up, down, and side to side, things like that. And if you're better with your mouse than I am, then you can start doing circles and shapes and arrows and all kinds of cool stuff. So fun little tool to use with Quicksilver and with your ever-growing list of triggers. Got questions? Leave them in the comments.